Hey, it's me, Plaidly. Yes, that's my real name. Please don't look it up. Right now, we're gonna play a little game I like to call Choices That You Make and That Totally Matter. Basically, I'm gonna give you a series of questions and you'll answer them, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure type deal. You know, if you choose this option, you go this way, choose that option, you go that way, etc. Pretty epic. Let's get started. All right, here's your first scenario. You have the choice to either spend your entire life savings investing in a new type of footwear called Shoes Plus, but the company takes your money and runs and now you're homeless. Or you choose to pay rent and leave your savings alone. They repossessed my house. I'm living in a hotel. I may have lied earlier. That didn't actually matter because either way, you're now hungry. You decide to go get some food. You leave the house and you walk outside and you see two restaurants. There's a Wendy's and there's a McDonald's. Which do you pick? All right, so if you picked option A, you go to Wendy's and... Sorry, that was a trick question. Either way, you've got clogged arteries and now you're in the hospital. Video games don't often prioritize choice over gameplay. For the longest time past their creation, video game developers would design a game to just be played one way. No branching paths, no alternate endings, just play through the game and get to the end and win a gold star and wonder why I've spent 54 hours of my life playing Undertale. But then, something amazing happened. They started making video games that are more like movies. Whoa. Telltale Games is typically the company that comes to mind when the concept of multiple choice video games comes up. They started with The Walking Dead, a game that heavily relies on the player to decide what to do. You're presented with different options of dialogue that will kind of affect the story and the characters. No matter what you decide to do or who to save doesn't actually really matter in the end, since the game will always end the same. The main character, Lee, gets infected with the Zombo disease, and your adopted adorable little girl, Clementine, will have to shoot you in the head to save herself. So yeah, it's kind of a downer ending. Now, Telltale took this concept of vaguely having different options throughout the game, but it actually has the same ending no matter what, and made 11 more of them. Okay, that's not exactly fair. I mean, some of these games were fun and entertaining enough. In fact, Minecraft Story Mode is definitely a bit underrated, and the two Batman games were incredibly engaging at times. But that was kind of the issue with Telltale. They weren't really interested in evolving their games, choosing to prioritize the illusion of choice instead. That made a lot of their games kind of difficult to replay, since when you went back and replayed it, but made different choices, they typically ended in the same place. Another example is Life is Strange, a fairly unique choice-driven game which also involved time travel as a mechanic. But despite the unique experience, this game also lands in the same place no matter what you choose. You have to choose between saving your best friend or saving Arcadia Bay, which is the location the game takes place in. Now, there's nothing bad about enjoying these games despite the story not changing much by the end of the game. But what if there was a game that was story-driven, had a fairly linear plot, yet changed drastically depending on how the player played the game? Undertale. Undertale was released on September 15th, 2015. The game has since then garnered an enormous fan base and almost universal praise. It's a game that's funny at times, intense at others, downright heartbreaking often, yet incredibly uplifting. But here's the catch. The game changes drastically depending on how the player plays. And while you're playing it, you won't even realize how much the game is changing. Before we go any further, spoiler alert. If you have never played this game and are at all intrigued by the concept, please play it for yourself. It's now available on PC, Mac, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and probably Game Boy Color, I guess? This is a game you can only experience for the first time once, and it's definitely worth playing the game blind for the first time. The story is fairly simple. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, humans and monsters were all chillin' in peace and harmony, but then everything changed when they started fighting 'cause reasons. The humans won the fight and sealed the monsters underground with a barrier that monsters can't cross 'cause reasons. The character you play as, Frisk is its name? Okay, this character doesn't really seem to have a gender, so I guess we'll call him there. We'll call it there, or we'll call them the... Frisk falls into a hole in this mountain into the underground, beginning a sort of Undertale. Get it? The game begins and you meet this flower guy. He's kinda cool, except when he tells you he wants to be your friend and then he shoots you and almost kills you. That's not kinda cool. Goat Mom comes in, is all like, nah, you can't kill my new baby. And then she takes you home through these underground ruins. In this place, you'll encounter different creatures, and this is the point you'll be given your first choice of the game. You could try and talk it out with this little Froggo boy, but you could also punch it to death too. With each enemy you encounter in the game, you'll have the same choice. Talk it out or murder. Eventually you and Goat Mom get home and she tells you you're never allowed to leave. She's basically a kidnapper. So that's cool, but you defy Goat Mom and be all like, no, I'm leaving, bye-bye. And she tries to stop you by blocking the way and beating you up. And again, you're given the choice. kill or talk. We'll get back to how this decision impacts the story later. So Frisk leaves the ruins. You meet some skeleton bros and one of them is all like, "Do my puzzles, human!" And the other one is like, "Haha, fourth walls, am I right?" Throughout the rest of this area, you're making your way through the snowy land, meeting new people and being attacked by adorable puppos with neck issues. Then you're forced to fight the lovable idiot Skelebro and he's all like, "Let's go on a date after I beat you up!" And again, you're given the option to either talk it out with him or murder him. Next, you'll wander through these caves, past waterfalls and glowing rock things while you're being hunted down by a mysterious creature in armor with like an infinite number of spears. Eventually, you meet her face to face. Turns out she's the head of the royal guard of the underground and she wants you dead. The game gives you the option to run away from her, since she's not much of a conversationalist, or to kill her. It's kind of funny how a small human child has the capability to take out the fiercest warrior monster in the whole underground. Next, you wander into this weird factory-like area and meet this geeky stalker Tumblr addict scientist named Alphys. She's been watching everything you do. She doesn't have a lot of friends, so she just kind of hangs around her lab and doesn't get out much. Anyways, she has this robot that kind of somehow turned evil and it attacks you with an evil game show. And later, an evil cooking show. And an evil news broadcast. And an evil musical princess number. This robot thing is kind of dramatic. You eventually duke it out with the robot when it's revealed that underneath his square robotic exterior is a weird Michael Jackson looking dude with crazy dance moves and like 10 times the drama. You can either go along with his crazy antics on live TV or kill him. Then you approach the barrier where the king of monsters resides. He's vibing here with these flowers when you show up and wait a second, I forgot to mention something. Do you remember how throughout this section I've been saying you can either kill the peoples or be super nice and cool to everybody? But how do your decisions actually impact the game's story? Well, you see, the thing is, your decisions actually impact the game's story. So toward the end of the game, you're wandering down this long hallway and you run into a mysterious shadowy figure who tells you he's about to judge you. And he explains what EXP and LV stand for. You see, throughout the game, if you were to go around killing monsters left and right, you'd gain EXP points and your LV would go up. In any standard RPG, EXP would stand for experience points and LV would stand for level. You get experience points until you level up, which leads you to leveling up and growing into a stronger character. But this game hits your face in the face by explaining that EXP stands for execution points, a way of quantifying the pain you have inflicted on others. Whoa. It gets worse though. This mysterious figure, who totally isn't Sans, also explains what LV, or love, stands for in the game. Level of violence. A way of measuring someone's capacity to hurt. Yikes. So basically, if you went along killing everything in your path without thinking, you're a murderer and a terrible person, and you need to go to prison. Whereas you could have gone through the game being nice to everyone and your level of violence would have never gone up. This reveal is an absolute bombshell and completely changes the way you think about the game. In this game, your choices have consequences. Now, there are a couple of extremes to this idea. For example, what if you went through the game meticulously being a friend to everyone you come across? Or the opposite extreme, what if you were to meticulously kill every last character in the game like a horrible, horrible person? We'll get back to that in a bit. There's someone walking outside my door. It's like 11:44 at night. And I hear footsteps outside. It's an outdoor like motel place. I hope they don't kill me. A lot of your decisions will mainly impact the way characters treat you, but they'll also affect the environments you explore as well. If you kept killing your way through the environment before getting to this area, the pub will look more empty and devoid of people. And if you spared everyone you came across, it'll be filled with people. Your actions will both directly and indirectly impact this world. Your choices matter. And depending on how you play the game, the ending will change. Let's start with the so-called neutral ending, which most players end up with on their first playthrough. You can get this ending based on multiple factors. Either you didn't kill anyone, but didn't befriend certain main characters, or you killed some people, or you killed everyone you came across, but didn't farm kills. AKA, you didn't actively seek to kill every monster in a given area. In this ending, you'll encounter Asgore, the king of monsters. He's vibing here with these flowers when you show up and fight him. You see, the previously mentioned barrier has some interesting properties. If the monsters collected 7 human souls, they could destroy the barrier and pass through. Asgore is a pretty nice guy, kinda like he's just a big softie at the end of the day. But he loves his people and wants to help them. and he figures that the only solution to the monsters escaping the underground is to kill 7 innocent humans and use their souls to cross the barrier. I take back everything I said, this guy is actually pretty terrible. So you battle it out with him, and this is one of the parts of the game where you can't decide to just talk it out. I remember playing the game for the first time, and as the musical cue ended and the game told me, "You are filled with determination," followed by Asgore literally breaking the mercy button. I got chills, man. Absolute chills. In fact, it's kind of funny, even now, like, just thinking about that scene is giving me chills. And you're forced to fight him. Even if you played the entire game not killing a single monster, you still have to fight him. Either that or just give up by letting him kill you and quit the game forever, but like, that's honestly really lame and anticlimactic, so don't do that. Once you defeat Asgore, you're presented with a choice. Either you can end him yourself or spare him, saving his life and dooming your soul to forever reside in the underground. It's a really interesting ending to the game, but just a bit unsatisfying. I mean, this entire game's main ending, having the main character just kind of choose to stay in the underground despite the entire quest to escape, that's really weird if you ask. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's not where the game ends. Flowey pops up, kills Asgore, laughs at you for not having the guts to do it yourself, and then the game crashes. You launch back in, and this next part I seriously cannot explain for the life of me, so just watch it for yourself. This boss fight ramps up the difficulty, but despite it initially seeming completely impossible to beat, it's actually entirely possible. To sum up what happens, you defeat Flowey and again are given the option to either kill him or to spare him. You leave the underground and finish the game, causing the credits to roll. After the credits, spooky scary Skelebro calls you up and is all like, "Sup?" What he actually says during the phone calls varies. There are a lot of possible dialogue options. I was trying to figure out how many different neutral endings are actually in the game, but here's the fan wiki page for it. Your choices matter in this game. So yeah, that's Undertale. This is a neutral route. Earlier I alluded to 2 possible extremes to the game. Let's start with the pacifist route. So let's say you finished your playthrough and thought, hey, what if I were to play through this entire game again, but I were to spare everyone I came across and also befriended 3 important characters in the game? What would happen then? A completely different experience that is both uplifting and beautiful. So if you played through the game without killing anyone and befriended tall Skelebro, mean warrior fish, and geeky introverted science girl, you'll make your way to Asgore with a clear conscience and a handful of I'm not a terrible person. This time all your buddy friends you've made throughout the game come along and are all like, "Yo, we love you and you don't have to fight Asgore and we can live here in harmony, hooray, yay!" It's a really interesting ending to the game, but just a bit unsatisfying. I mean, this entire game's main ending, having the main character just choose to stay in the underground despite the entire quest to escape? That's pretty weird if you ask. Oh, wait a second, Flowey shows up again. I should have seen that coming. Flowey becomes this goat thing. It's hard to explain. And then you fight him in one last-ditch effort to save your friends and your world. I could go into how perfect this ending is, how the boss fight's music is incredibly uplifting and powerful, how this ending has made me cry every time I finish this game. But, yeah, I'm not gonna. But I think this should really highlight one of the reasons this game succeeds in giving the player choice as compared to the other story-based games I mentioned earlier. Though this game doesn't seem to give you much of a choice when it comes to changing the story like one of the Telltale games would, this game actually lets you choose how the story will go while you're playing it. Sure, the main beats of the game are still the same. You'll travel through the areas in the same order every time, meet the same characters, fight the same battles. But at the end of the day, the ending of the game will change depending on your actions in the game, not by letting you choose a dialogue option every few minutes to trick you into thinking you're not just watching a 10-hour cutscene with a few quicktime events and puzzles, but by letting you play as a character in a story where your choices matter. Speaking of choices mattering, let's talk about the ending where you're a genocidal maniac and you kill everybody. Since Undertale is a game that gives you the option of choosing whether you'll spare or kill people, of course the game has a separate ending for the psychopaths playing the game with an aversion to all things happy and wholesome. To play through the genocide route, all you have to do is kill everyone. But not just everyone you come across, you have to set out to kill every single monster in a single area. In JRPG terms, you'll have to farm for enemies to show up during random encounters over and over until there's literally no one left. Once you've killed the last one and another random encounter begins, the game does this. Yeah, creepy. The music cuts out, and it's just this low, creepy humming until you've made it out of the area. As the story progresses and you encounter Undyne, it's pretty obvious that the game is practically begging you to stop. Stop killing everything, you absolute monster. Killing is bad. You are literally going out of your way to kill everybody. Please stop it. But because you're an aforementioned psychopath with an aversion to all things happy and wholesome, you'll just keep killing a bunch of innocent, happy boys who just want to live. And that's when you encounter the leader of the Royal Guard Fish Lady, Undyne. It's pretty easy to strike her down, but then she just flat out refuses to die. She tells you that it is her duty to fight with everything inside her. The weight of every innocent life in the underground is on her shoulders, and she is filled with determination. The music track for this battle is called Battle Against a True Hero. In this moment, you're battling against the true hero of Undertale. And if you're battling the hero, that means you're the villain, you're the monster. If you manage to defeat her, you'll continue traversing the game and taking more and more innocent lives. Eventually, you'll encounter Sans in what is one of the absolute most incredibly difficult video game segments of all time. Sans stares you down in the Judgment Hall and challenges you. He delivers what I consider to be one of the most powerful, iconic video game lines of all time. This boss fight is virtually unbeatable unless you study his attacks to the point of memorizing his every move. If you succeed, you're treated to the worst ending of all time. Your character's body is basically consumed by this evil being named Chara. You get literally nothing out of beating the genocide run, except I guess the satisfaction of getting all the endings or bragging rights.
Oh, so you can lift 200 pounds with one arm while your other arm is juggling 4 adult German shepherds? Well, I just beat Sans in Undertale. Fight me, loser.
So yeah, I absolutely hate this route and have never completed it. Although I don't hate the game or the developer for giving you this option. In fact, I think it perfectly highlights how much TobyFox wanted to give players their choice in what to do. Oh, and TobyFox is the creator of the game, by the way. I don't think I explained that, but he is. He made the game. His name is TobyFox, I think. I don't know, maybe. The core theme is highlighted on the official Steam page for the game. The RPG game where you don't have to destroy anyone. You don't have to destroy anyone, but you can destroy everyone. Your choices matter, and will impact everyone around you. Hey, just like in real life. I know, this game has been memed to death and has a, interesting fan base, and it seems to be largely ignored nowadays due to it falling out of popularity. I totally understand why some people hate or choose to ignore this game because of the fan base surrounding it. And I know that Sans is at Ness, but none of that is going to stop me from enjoying this game every time I replay it. The game's respect for player choice and the beautiful story told throughout are both signs of an expertly executed vision for a game. I will always consider this to be an incredible game. No. An incredible experience. Going back to what I said at the beginning of this video about other story-driven games like the Telltale games or Life is Strange, I'm not going to say those games don't have merit for what they are. Telltale has managed to tell some engaging, powerful stories with their games, and I think they've earned respect for that. Same with Life is Strange. But in my opinion, none of those games come even close to what Undertale managed to achieve with its choice-driven narrative. Before I get back to settling into my new life as a homeless person living in a hotel, I'd like to read a review real quick. This is a review from Tim McDonald of PCinvasion.com. I have a couple of issues with the user interface. And that pretty much says it all.